Yes, so let's look at the concept of conditional statements, and we're saying that conditional statements are used to perform some different conditions or different actions based on different conditions. Okay, and I'm taking a scenario where you are building a online platform for social, like for example the social media, and you want some users to register on that platform, but you don't want to allow the children or people below 18 years to register. So what you're going to do is, maybe when someone is signing up, you're going to allow them to enter their date of birth, and once they enter their date of birth, you're going to calculate how old are they, and if they are below 18 years, then you're going to block them, or if they are 18 years and above, then you're going to allow them to proceed to create an account. So within that system, in that design, you can clearly see that there is some if conditions around there. So what you're trying to say is that if this condition is met, do this, or if this condition is met, do this. So that's where we apply the if statements. So in JavaScript, there are 3 or 4 types of the if statements. So the first one is the if statement, the second one is the else statement, then the other one is the if else if statement, then the last one is the switch statement. So these are the 4 types of conditional statements that you will use in JavaScript. So let us look at each one of them uh, and see how you can write them and how you can apply them in your program. So the first conditional statement is the if statement, and we say that we use if statement to execute the block of code if the specified condition is true. If the specified condition is true. And the syntax for writing the if statement is we use the if keyword followed by the condition within the brackets, then followed by the curly brackets within which we put the code that will be executed if this condition is true. And let's take a practical example here. So in our code base, I'm going to declare another variable, call it value, okay, and I'm going to assign it a value of or let's say value 1. So value 1, I'm going to assign it the value 10, and I declare another variable value 2, and I'm going to assign it the variable the value 7. Now let's use the if statement to test and do some statements, or rather yeah, that's, I think that's a good one. So I'm going to use the if statement. I say if, then followed by the brackets, then within the bracket I'm going to provide a condition. So I'm going to say if value 1 is greater than value 2, then what do we do? So within the curly bracket is where we provide the code block that will be executed in case this condition is true. So if value 1 is greater than value 2, then maybe we want to console, we want to print, or maybe we want to do something, we want to ring a bell, or you want to do some alert, you want to notify a user, or you want to send an email, or you want to send an SMS, something like that. So we're going to say console.log. For our case, we're just going to log console.log and say yes, value 1 is greater than value 2. And then we save the changes. So when I rerun program, you can see that on your screen here it says yes, value 1 is greater than value 2 because this condition is true. But now instead of using that, let us use less than. So we know very well value 1 is not less than value 2, and therefore if it is not less than, then this condition will not be executed. So when we save the changes and try to rerun the program, you will see nothing is printed here on this screen because the condition here is not true, it is false. So that is how we simply write if statement. But now let us say we want to be able to provide an alternative in case the condition is false. So if you want to provide an alternative code block that will run in case this condition is false, then what we are going to use is the else. So we are going to add the else part using the else keyword. So within the else we can provide, so we are going to say if value 1 is less than value 2, if that is true, then print and say value 1 is less than value 2. But if it is not true, then print and say console.log value 1 is greater than value 2, right? So that if this condition fails, we will fall back to the else part. So now when you execute the program again, you will see now value 1 is greater than value 2. So this part has been executed. So that is how we can use if else part. The next conditional statement is where maybe you have more than one condition you want to test. For our case here, we are only testing one condition, if value 1 is less than value 2. But let's say we want to test several use cases. Okay, we have several conditions we want to test, and if one of those conditions are met, you execute the statement corresponding to that. So for that case, I'm going to take a scenario of we know that in a year we have 12 months. So we have month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 12th month. So I'm going to declare a variable here called it let month, and I'm going to assign it to 4. Alright. So I'm going to say if month is equals to 1, then console dot log and say this is April, because we know month 4 is April. Else if month is equals to 2, then console dot log this is Feb, because the second month is Feb. The first one is supposed to be January. Alright, so I'm going to add another else if month is equals to 3, then console dot log this is March, else if month is equals to 4, then console dot log month is April. All right, or else if this does not meet any of this condition, then you can say else month console dot log unknown month. All right, so here we have, you can see in this scenario we are testing multiple conditions. So we are testing if month is 1, if month is 2, if it is 3, or if it is 4. Else if it does not meet any of these conditions, we provide an alternative to execute. So in a scenario where we have more than one condition, then we cannot just use if else. So we have to use a multiple if else if else if else if to be able to test all the possible conditions that we have. All right. So when you run this program, it will first of all initialize the month to 4, and then it will check this condition one by one. It will come and check the first condition. It will see month is not 1, so it will not execute this. Come to this one until where if month is 4 is equals to exactly that variable, then we are going to print this corresponding statement. So now when you run this code, you will now see that it prints the month is April. The month is April. So that's another way you can use multiple conditions using the else if, or you can say you're using multiple else if statements. The last switch statement, the last conditional statement, which is the switch statement, the switch statement plays the same role as the multiple else if statements. So instead of using it this way, we could use a switch statement. So the switch statement has this syntax where we use the keyword switch, and then inside we use the expression, then we use the case. So we have case x. If the case x is true, we execute this block and we break. If case y is equal to this, we execute this block and break. So let us demonstrate that in the code. And so instead of writing multiple if else statements, you could alternatively use a switch. So I'm going to remove this up to here, and now we have month is initialized to 4. So how can we use switch statement? So we use the keyword switch, then in bracket what is the variable, or what is the value which we want to switch. So we want to switch this variable called month, which is initialized to 4. So we are switching this variable. And then within that switch, we provide multiple cases. So we use the keyword case, and we say if case is 1, okay, So case 1, what should happen? So if the case is 1, then console dot log and say the month is January, then break from this switch. And then again we provide another case. So case, if the case is 2, and when we talk about case, we are referring to this variable that we are switching. So if the case is 2, then say console dot log the month is Feb. So let me copy this console so that to avoid wasting of time, and then break. Again you provide the fourth case, the third case, and say if case 3, what do you want to do? Maybe console.log and say the month is March, then break. So the last case statement, so if case is 4, log and say the month is April, and then break. And then after that, if you have tested all the cases, you want also to provide the default. In case none of these cases satisfied, what should happen? So we provide the default. So we say default. If nothing is met, then just say uh, the month is unknown. So these are the default code we want to execute. So now when you run this code block again, you can see that it falls to this case here. If we change the value of the month to maybe 2 and rerun, it will say the month is Feb. So that is all about the switch statement. Unless you have a question to ask about any of these conditional statements, you can ask where you have not understood. Any question? Alright, so if we are okay, if there's no question, then I want to believe we are done with the conditional statements. And before we proceed, let me stop this clip.